The complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Karmayoga, Chapter 8. The Ideal of Karmayoga, Part 2. Now comes the next question. What is this work? What is this doing to the world? Can we do good in this to the world? In an absolute sense, no. In a relative sense, yes. No permanent or everlasting good can be done to the world. If it could be done, the world would not be this world. We may satisfy the hunger of a man for 5 minutes, but he will be hungry again. Every pleasure with which we supply a man may be seen to be momentary. No one can permanently cure this ever-recurring fever of pleasure and pain. Can any permanent happiness be given to the world? In the ocean, we cannot raise a wave without causing a hollow somewhere else. The sum total of the good things in the world has been the same throughout in its relation to man's need and greed. It cannot be increased or decreased. Take the history of the human race as we know it today. Do we not find the same miseries and the same happinesses, the same pleasures and pains, the same differences in position? Are not some rich, some poor, some high, some low, some healthy and some unhealthy? All this was just the same with the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans in the ancient times as it is with the Americans today. So far as history is known, it has always been the same. Yet, at the same time, we find that running along with all these incurable differences of pleasure and pain, there has ever been the struggle to alleviate them. Every period of history has given birth to thousands of men and women who have worked hard to smoothen the passage of life for others. And how far have they succeeded? We can only play at driving the ball from one place to another. We can take away the pain from the physical plane and it goes to the mental one. It is like that picture in Dante's Hell, where the misers are given a mass of gold to roll up a hill. Every time they have rolled it up a little, it again rolled down. All our talks about the Millennium are very nice as schoolboy stories, but they are no better than that. All nations that dream of the Millennium also think that of all the peoples in the world, they will have the best of it then for themselves. This is the wonderfully unselfish idea of the Millennium. We cannot add happiness to this world. Similarly, we cannot add pain to it either. The sum total of the energies of pleasure and pain displayed here on earth will be the same throughout. We just push it from this side to the other and from that side to this. But it will remain the same because to remain so is its very nature. This ebb and flow, this rising and falling is in the world's very nature. It would be as logical to hold otherwise as to say that we may have life without death. This is complete nonsense, because the very idea of life implies death and the very idea of pleasure implies pain. The lamp is constantly burning out and that is its life. If you want to have life, you have to die every moment for it. Life and death are only different expressions of the same thing looked at from different standpoints. They are the falling and the rising of the same wave, and the two form one whole. One looks at the fall side and becomes a pessimist. Another looks at the rise side and becomes an optimist. When a boy is going to school and his father and mother are taking care of him, everything seems blessed to him. His wants are simple. He is a great optimist. But the old man with his varied experience becomes calmer and is sure to have his warmth considerably cooled down. So old nations with signs of decay all around them are apt to be less hopeful than new nations. There is a proverb in India, 1,000 years of city and 1,000 years of forest. This change of city into forest and vice versa is going on everywhere, and it makes people optimists or pessimists according to the side they see of it. The next idea we take up is the idea of equality. These millennium ideas have been great motive powers to work. Many religions preach this as an element in them, that God is coming to rule the universe, and that then there will be no difference at all in the conditions. The people who preach this doctrine are mere fanatics, and fanatics are indeed the sincerest of mankind. Christianity was preached just on the basis of the fascination of this fanaticism, and that is what made it so attractive to the Greek and the Roman states. They believed that under the millennial religion there would be no more slavery, that there would be plenty to eat and drink, and therefore they flocked round the Christian standard. Those who preached the idea first were of course ignorant fanatics, but very sincere. In modern times, this millennial aspiration takes the form of equality, of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This is also fanaticism. True equality has never been and never can be on earth. How can we all be equal here? This impossible kind of equality implies total death. What makes this world what it is? Lost balance. In the primal state, which is called chaos, there is perfect balance. How do all the formative forces of the universe come then? By struggling, competition, conflict. Suppose that all the particles of matter were held in equilibrium. Would there be then any process of creation? We know from science that it is impossible. Disturb a sheet of water, and there you will find every particle of the water trying to become calm again, one rushing against the other. And in the same way, all the phenomenon which we call the universe, all things therein are struggling to get back to the state of perfect balance. Again a disturbance comes, and again we have a combination and creation. Inequality is the very basis of creation. At the same time, the forces struggling to obtain equality are as much a necessity of creation as those which destroy it. Absolute equality, that which means a perfect balance of all struggling forces in all planes, can never be in this world. Before you attain that state, the world will have become quite unfit for any kind of life, and no one will be there. We find therefore that all these ideas of the millennium and of absolute equality are not only impossible, but also that if we try to carry them out, they will lead us surely enough to the day of destruction. What makes the difference between man and man? It is largely the difference in the brain. Nowadays, no one but a lunatic will say that we are all born with the same brain power. We have come into this world with unequal endowments. We come as greater men or as lesser men, and there is no getting away from that prenatally determined condition. The American Indians were in this country for thousands of years, and a few handfuls of your ancestors came to their land. What difference they have caused in the appearance of the country? Why did not the Indians make improvements and build cities if all were equal? With your ancestors, a different sort of brain power came into this land. Different bundles of vast impressions came, and they worked out and manifested themselves. Absolute non-differentiation is death. So long as this world lasts, differentiation there will and must be, and the millennium of perfect equality will come only when a cycle of creation comes to its end. Before that, equality cannot be. Yet this idea of realizing the millennium is a great motive power, just as inequality is necessary for creation itself, so the struggle to limit it is also necessary. If there were no struggle to become free and get back to God, there would be no creation either. It is the difference between these two forces that determines the nature of the motives of men. There will always be these motives to work, some tending towards bondage and the others towards freedom. This world's wheel within wheel is a terrible mechanism. If we put our hands in it, as soon as we are caught, we are gone. We all think that we have done a certain duty, we shall be at rest. But before we have done a part of that duty, another is already waiting. We are all being dragged along by this mighty complex world machine. There are only two ways out of it. One is to give up all concerns with the machine, to let it go and stand aside, to give up our desires. That is very easy to say, but it is almost impossible to do. I do not know whether in 20 millions of men one can do that. The other way is to plunge into the world and learn the secret of work, and that is the way of Karmayoga. Do not fly away from the wheels of the world machine, but stand inside it and learn the secret of work. Through proper work done inside, it is also possible to come out. So this machinery itself is the way out.